Have you ever considered this? Albert Einstein, Sigmund Freud, and Karl Marx were three of the most influential men of all time. They literally shaped the world we live in today. And all three of them were Jews. Could this be part of our destiny as Jews? Are we called by God to change the world? Standing here, outside of the Jewish Museum in New York City, it really makes you wonder. When Time magazine drew up its list of the 100 most influential people of the 20th century, at least 12 of them were Jews. Some of the prominent names included Bob Dylan and Steven Spielberg and David Ben-Gurion. But the Jewish people make up less than 0.002% of the world's population. That's one Jew for every 500 people. And it was a Jew, Albert Einstein, who was named the person of the century. How is it that such a small group of people have made such a massive impact on the world?
Albert Einstein, Karl Marx, and Sigmund Freud, I think they were all very independent thinkers.
The thing they have in common is that they're all Jewish.
I believe that Albert Einstein, Karl Marx, and Sigmund Freud were all Jewish.
Yeah, I didn't know that Karl Marx was Jewish.
Albert Einstein was the father of nuclear physics, considered the greatest genius of his age. He discovered the theory of relativity at the age of 25. Sigmund Freud, father of modern psychology, called the most influential intellectual legislator of his age. Even today, we still talk about Freudian slips. And Karl Marx, the father of communism, his writings impacted whole nations. The co-author of the Communist Manifesto, author of Das Kapital, also changed the whole world. Wherever you look in our society, Jews have made their mark. Do you watch TV news and talk shows and you've seen Larry King and Barbara Walters, Wolf Blitzer? All Jews. You've seen Real Time with Bill Maher? He's Jewish too. How about MTV and Showtime and Nickelodeon? They're all part of the Viacom empire run by Sumner Redstone, who was born Murray Rothstein, another Jew. Do you like comedy? You know all about Adam Sandler, Jerry Seinfeld, Billy Crystal, Jon Stewart of the Comedy Channel, all Jews. Or Sacha Baron Cohen, better known as Borat or Ali G, another Jew. In fact, all these men are part of a long line of Jewish comedians going back to Rodney Dangerfield and Jerry Lewis and Milton Berle and Jack Benny and the Marx Brothers. Yeah, the Marx Brothers were Jewish too. In fact, about the only thing that connects Karl Marx and the Marx Brothers is that they're all Jews. Even the Three Stooges were Jewish. Hey, we're just getting started. Do you own nice clothes? Then you've got something designed by Calvin Klein, Ralph Lauren, Kenneth Cole, all Jews. Do you wear jeans? Then you know the inventor of the blue jeans, Levi Strauss, another Jew. Do you like nice perfumes? Then certainly you smell the scents of Estee Lauder, another Jew, and according to Time magazine, one of the 100 most influential people of the 20th century. Do you enjoy watching sports? Then you've heard the names of the famous broadcasters like Howard Cosell and Marv Albert, both Jews. Do you enjoy reading novels? Then you surely picked up something by Jackie Collins or Danielle Steele or Irving Stone, all of them Jews. Who is the world's most famous mime? Marcel Marceau, a Jew. Who is the pioneer of magic and illusion? Harry Houdini, a Jew. Who is the most famous chess player of all time? Bobby Fischer, a Jew. Who's the world's greatest chess player, a man who defeats computers? Garry Kasparov, another Jew. Think about some of the people who have had a massive influence over world economy, like Alan Greenspan and Robert Rubin, both Jews. In fact, the recent president of the World Bank, Paul Wolfowitz, is also a Jew. What about the world of technology? Michael Dell, founder of Dell Computers. Sergey Brin, one of the co-founders of Google. Steve Ballmer, president and CEO of Microsoft. All Jews. You've really got to think about this. Really, the impact that such a small percentage of the population has had on world culture is absolutely mind-boggling. It's completely out of proportion to our size. Is there something different in the Jewish DNA?
Well, Jon Stewart's Jewish. I know he's Jewish. Seinfeld, I mean, you can't leave him out of the list.
Whatchamacall was a Jew. Sammy Davis, who was a black Jew, right?
Ben Stein.
Jerry Seinfeld.
Moses. Moses would be a very famous Jew throughout history.
Ben Stiller would be the most, I think, at the time right now.
I think Anne Frank is one of the most influential Jews in history.
Jerry Springer's a Jew.
Yeah.
How about the mayor of our city, Mayor Bloomberg?
There's no denying that Jews have been world changers. In fact, there's an amazing quote from Mark Twain more than 100 years ago. Listen to what he said. If statistics are right, the Jews constitute but 1% of the human race. It suggests a nebulous dim puff of stardust lost in the blaze of the Milky Way. Properly, the Jew ought hardly to be heard of, but he is heard of, has always been heard of. He is as prominent on the planet as any other people, and his commercial importance is extravagantly out of proportion to the smallness of his bulk. His contributions to the world's list of great names in literature, science, art, music, finance, medicine, and abstruse learning are also way out of proportion to the weakness of his numbers. He has made a marvelous fight in this world, in all the ages, and had done it with his hands tied behind him. He could be vain of himself and be excused for it. That was 1899. What about today? Just think of the impact of Hollywood and TV on our culture, and then think of the Jewish impact on Hollywood and TV. Or maybe you didn't realize how great that impact was.
Jesus Christ is the most famous Jewish person I know.
Okay.
And then Moses after him.
Abraham.
My stepdad.
He's Jewish.
Oh man, the most famous?
Yeah.
Mel Gibson probably one of them.
The most famous. There's a guy that he's a musician. I forget the name.
Matisyahu is the funniest Jewish person I know because he's a rabbi that lives in Crown Heights, and he's rapping.
I think the funniest Jewish person is Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler.
I agree, Adam Sandler.
I'd say the most famous Jew would have to be Steven Spielberg.
I don't really know that much about Jewish people. I'm from California.
There's almost nothing that impacts our culture today more than Hollywood and TV, and yet some of the biggest names in the industry are Jewish. Starting with producers like Steven Spielberg and Roman Polanski and Oliver Stone and Woody Allen and Mel Brooks, and then going to an almost endless stream of Jewish actors and actresses like Richard Dreyfuss in Jaws, and Gwyneth Paltrow and Ben Stiller and Rob Schneider and Alicia Silverstone and Goldie Hawn and Kirk Douglas and Dustin Hoffman, just to name a few. Did you realize that all of them were Jews? Jewish influence on Hollywood literally goes from Star Wars to Star Trek. That's right, Captain Kirk, William Shatner, and Leonard Nimoy, Mr. Spock, were both Jews. And it actually goes from the Twilight Zone to the X-Files. Rod Serling from the Twilight Zone and David Duchovny, better known as Fox Mulder, both Jews. It even goes from Inspector Clouseau to Indiana Jones. Peter Sellers and Harrison Ford are both Jews on their mother's side, and therefore Jews according to Jewish law. Jews have made their mark on the music industry too. From the beautiful voices of Simon and Garfunkel to the first Caucasian rap group, the Beastie Boys. And from Barbra Streisand and Billy Joel and Barry Manilow to Bette Midler and Neil Diamond and David Lee Roth, all of them Jews. Even Brian Epstein, the creator of the Beatles, was a Jew. But all this leads to a question. Is this God's destiny for us as Jews? Is this our calling as world changers? Star Trek? The Communist Manifesto? The Beastie Boys? The Three Stooges? And what about men like Howard Stern and Jerry Springer? Certainly men of influence. But is this what God has destined for our people? You know, when you really stop and think about it, we have a Jewish World Changers Hall of Fame. I mean, just think about this. The adventures of lipstick and the ballpoint pen and instant photography and TV remote control and laser and videotape and virtual reality and genetic engineering were all Jews. Columnist Ann Landers with millions of readers, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the second woman to sit on the Supreme Court, two more influential Jews. Some of the greatest conductors of the world's greatest orchestras and operas were Jews, most famously Leonard Bernstein. Some of the world's greatest artists were Jews. Maybe Marc Chagall is at the top of that list. So many people who challenged the status quo have been Jews, like feminist leaders Betty Friedan and Naomi Wolf, or counterculture leaders like Abby Hoffman and Jerry Rubin, or Senators Barbara Boxer and Dianne Feinstein. They were the first pair of women to be elected together to the United States Senate from the same state. So many of the greatest authors and thinkers and scientists have been Jews, from Saul Bellow to Jonas Salk. In fact, Jews have made an incredible mark on the sciences, doing all kinds of good for humanity. Listen to what the Jewish Achievement website points out. Chance would say that out of 174 Nobel Prizes for physics awarded from 1901 through 2004, Jews should have gotten none, or at best one. That is, with 0.2% of the world's population, one might reasonably expect Jews to get 2 out of every 1,000 prizes, 1 out of every 500. With 174 prizes awarded, the odds are that at best one Jew might have earned a Nobel for physics, but only if that person beat the odds. Actually, Jews have received 48 out of the 174 awards. In fact, 23% of all Nobel Prizes from 1901 to 2006 have been awarded to Jews, including 29 prize winners in chemistry, constituting 19% of the world total and 28% of the U.S. total. Still, we have to ask the question, is this everything God fashioned us to do? One Jewish textbook says this: we have been chosen for a mission to bring the message of the one omnipotent God to mankind. Well, Einstein certainly didn't fulfill that mission, nor did Freud or Karl Marx or Harry Houdini or Steven Spielberg or Bobby Fischer or Barbara Streisand. None of them did it. Could it be that maybe we're barking up the wrong tree? Could it be that maybe it's the rabbis, the religious Jews, who are called to fulfill the mission and make God known to the ends of the earth? We're talking about, on this show, Jewish influence on world culture. Jews, world changers. Is there any kind of special mission? Have we made the world a better place, a worse place? So first, out of curiosity, are any famous Jews you can think of? Who comes to mind?
I have none.
Nobody?
Steven Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg, all right. Hollywood. Anybody else in Hollywood? Goldie Hawn.
Adam Sandler.
Everybody knows Adam Sandler, Steven Spielberg. But did you know they were all Jews?
No.
No, didn't know that. All right, see, you're going to learn something today.
Yes.
Okay, what about other areas where you think Jews have had an impact on society?
I think they have an impact everywhere. I mean, in science and literature, there's all these kind of great people. I mean, Albert Einstein, you know.
Albert Einstein, he was Time Magazine's Person of the Century. So, for every 500 people on the earth, how many of them do you think are Jews? One Jew for every 500 people. Yet we're all over Hollywood, sciences, literature, famous novelists. We're all over the place. So how is it this tiny percentage of the people has had such a massive influence in society? Any ideas?
I think it's because they had so much struggle. I mean, coming over from different countries, being kind of in immigrant status, they had to kind of prove their worth. They had a lot of ambition growing up.
Right.
They tried to overcome whatever obstacles they had, so maybe that gave them an impetus to...
There's no question that when you're the underdog, you have to fight, and then often in society we're persecuted, we're misunderstood. That's true, but there's a problem. Even when we get established, we still have this kind of influence. I mean, Adam Sandler, Steven Spielberg, they weren't immigrants, and yet they continue to have this big influence. So I have a question for you. I'm not sure if you believe what's written in the Bible or not, but according to the Bible, Jews have a special mission given by God. You know what that is according to the Bible? No idea.
Well, everybody usually has a mission. Everybody that comes from other states come here to make a mission. It's not only
Everybody has a certain mission. Right. Like in an orchestra, everybody has a specific instrument to play. But what do you think the mission of the Jews is? According to the Bible, the Scriptures. I mean, the Bible, it's a Jewish book. So according to the Bible,
no idea, to convert others, to change the world.
Change the world, yeah. If the Jews worship the one true God, I mean, we were monotheists, everybody else was worshiping idols. Part of our mission now is to make God known to all the nations. So we've had influence, Hollywood, science, literature, great medical advances, all that. But have we succeeded in our real mission, making God known to the ends of the earth?
That's probably not. That's hard, because there's so many other religions. They're like so much more popular, like in Asia, like Buddhism or Hinduism. And like every continent or every part of the world has its own major sort of religion. Even there are other religions around.
Exactly. Who is it then that's like the missionaries? They go around the world, They tell everybody believe in the one true God. And
I think the Christians, not the Jews.
Christians, oh, but hang on.
Christians are originally Jews.
Christians are originally, now we may be on to something here. Can you think of any famous Jews or anything Jews have contributed to society?
Well, in the arts, I mean, which is my field, it's crammed with Jewish people,
Really?
and they've contributed a huge amount.
Do you know for every 500 people in the world, how many of them do you think are Jews?
For every 500, how many?
Take a guess.
Like about 250?
Oh, half the world are Jews? That'd be a lot. That'd be a lot.
About 5.
5. Actually, there's only one Jew for every 500 people in the world. The Jews do a whole lot of stuff. You think there's a special mission for the Jewish people in this world?
They're capable of, because I know a lot of them do a lot of good stuff, and there's nice people. So it's a possibility.
Yes, I think, their religious ethics demand, I'm not Jewish, but I think that demands something that the best Miss Lorraine was saying. They make a point of contributing.
You know, I'm thinking about what these people had to say, and it's very interesting. In fact, 3 things strike me. Number 1, there is that disproportionate influence of the Jewish people upon world culture. Nobody can seem to deny it. In fact, one of the women that I spoke with is actually an art photographer for the New York Times, and as soon as we were off camera, she started to spout off names of Jews in music and the arts. But then there's that second recognition, and it seems that Gentiles and Jews both seem to have this, which is the Jews have a special calling. The Jews have a mission, and it's a mission to make the one true God known. In fact, they're called to be witnesses. People were at home with that concept, but witnesses testify to what they've seen and heard. And that leads me to the third point. They also seem to recognize that religious Jews are not primarily interested in telling the rest of the world about the one true God. In fact, the more religious a Jewish person is, it seems the less interested they are in spreading the news to the rest of the world. Very interesting. Something to think about.
A famous rabbi.
Yeah, Maimonides, Rashi, Hillel.
Oh, we have a great rabbi in Israel by the name Rabbi Yonah Metzger. He's smart, intelligent, and working with the Jewish people for today, for the modern world.
No, I can't think of any.
Famous rabbis? What do you mean, like Jehovah's or something like that?
Rabbis, Jews.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you.
I can name a famous rabbi. His name is Rabbi Shmuley from Shalom in the Home, and I'm a huge fan.
Great, thanks a lot. Let's be honest. Most Americans today couldn't give this the name of a single influential rabbi. They know the names of the actors and the entertainers, but religious Jews, rabbis? Ask them which rabbis brought the knowledge of God to the ends of the earth in the last 100 years or 500 years, or better yet, go to India and Africa and ask the people there which rabbis and religious Jews brought the knowledge of the one true God to them. In fact, I'm speaking as a Jew myself, we've sometimes done better at spreading atheism than the knowledge of God. From Karl Marx in his day to Jews today like Sam Harris, the author of The End of Faith, and Christopher Hitchens, the author of God is Not Great, How Religion Poisons Everything, to the late astrophysicist Carl Sagan, who was a champion of religious skepticism. In fact, a recent poll from Baylor University indicated that while 6% of Americans deny the existence of God and are atheists, 8% of the Jewish population in America said that they're atheists. That means we deny the existence of God more than the rest of the American population. Certainly, you cannot say that we have succeeded in our mission to be a light to the world and to bring the knowledge of God to the ends of the earth. It would seem that we failed in our ultimate calling as world changers. Unless there's one Jew that we failed to consider. One Jew that outshines Einstein, Marx, Freud 1,000 times over. One Jew whose name is known in every nation of the world. In fact, who has brought the knowledge of God to the ends of the earth, to every nation and people. Who is this Jew that we fail to consider? Who do you think is the most famous Jew of all time? Ah, surprised you.
That's tough. Einstein?
I'd say Golda Meir.
Yeah, he's an actor. Wow. My brain's going blank.
To tell you the truth, I don't know anyone.
Don't know any?
I don't know anyone.
Who do you think is the most famous Jew of all time?
Jesus.
Jesus. Jesus?
Let me introduce you to the most influential Jew of all time. The most famous Jew of all time, a man who literally changed the course of the world. Most people know him as Jesus, but his Hebrew name is Yeshua. He was a rabbi, not a reverend. And the reason he's called Christ is because Christ is the Greek way of saying Messiah. Yeshua the Messiah. He's one of us. Through Yeshua and his faithful band of followers, men like Peter, Paul, John, all of them Jews, the knowledge of the one true God has gone to the ends of the earth. There are people that have thrown away their idols, and they've thrown away their false religion, and they've thrown away their anger and their hatred, and they've turned to the one true God through him, Jesus, Yeshua, the Messiah. He's the ultimate world changer. He's the one who fulfills our destiny as Jews. And it's time that we reclaim him as one of our own.
All right.
Can we ask you a quick question on camera?
What is the question? And then I'll give you my answer.
Okay. All right, well, I'll ask you, and if you don't like it, you don't have to be on camera, okay? So the question is, who is the most famous Jew of all time?
Who's the most famous? Jesus?
Jesus. Perfect. Too bad you don't win any money for this. Okay. The question is, who do you think is the most famous Jew of all time?
Jesus.
Jesus. You nailed it. Thank you.
Good.
Now, how come you knew that he was a Jew? How come you didn't think of him as a Gentile?
Because I work in a church. I know lots of things. Okay.
Any religious figures that are Jewish that are really famous?
David.
David? Okay, that's a good. Anybody else? That's late in the day, hard to think. How about Jesus?
Yeah, he was Jewish.
He was Jewish. Ah, okay. Okay, so he's always been a Jew.
Yes.
So that would make him the most famous Jew of the whole world.
That would.